Hello, everyone. Welcome to Dice on Ice. My name is Megan, and I am so sorry for the late start. Decided, I decided, no, my computer decided, to not play nice and to have some technical difficulties, but we did it. We're back, and hopefully everything will go as planned. And so I am very excited to play. So let us begin. And Jason is willing to do the recap tonight. So take it away.
For the promise of future rewards, I will do the recap. So at the end of the previous session, we had finally escaped the murder hut, and we were confronted by the ominous figure of Strahd von Zarovich. And he, spoke to us briefly, and then basically went away. And we realized that as the mists were parting, there was an actual village around the death house, and so we kind of went out to explore, not before having a very brief service for the fallen comrade of ours that was the Everchild. And then Fel kind of was urging Korla and Eli to attempt to go back to the gates of Barovia, where we first entered this land following the Vistani. It didn't go so well because we were attacked by giant wolf creature monsters of death, and pretty much everybody died except Fel, whose strange new mystical abilities kept her up. But fortunately, Anatoli, played by Leo, was in the area, and he pulled our proverbial bacon out of the fire and took us to a tavern, which I believe was either the blood of the vine or the blood on the vine. Anyway, he wanted us to meet the burgomaster Ismark, and as we were being dragged into the tavern, we encountered Jean, who seemed to recognize Korla, and they had a little conversation while the rest of us were just sort of sobbing and trying to collect ourselves from our death by wolves. And we ended up getting a room at the tavern, and rooms at the tavern, and we ended with us taking a nice long rest. And that is where our macabre tale picks up.
Filter through the window, you can see that the mists are there, ever present, their long tendrils snaking through the slats of the window, and they almost seem to reach out to you, Korla, as they turn into slender fingers, reaching. But as you focus on them and as your eyes kind of adjust, they vanish into nothing more than just aimless fog. And what do you do as you get up?
I think initially, Corla would have probably shivered when she saw the mist. And then as it was reaching out to her, I don't think she would have noticed, but until it stopped and it became mist again, that she was holding her breath and wasn't breathing. And so as soon as it kind of disappears, she lets out this like a gasp almost of relief that it was in fact just mist and probably the last remnants of her dreamless sleep. from the night before. And so I think shakily she would sit up, kind of maybe hold her head a little bit, trying to get the bearings of where she's at. And she would then proceed to quickly ready herself, get dressed, probably still feeling a bit cold from this mist that's coming in. And once ready, she would leave. Well, was Jean staying in the same room? Were we sharing a room at this point? I can't remember.
You guys all had your own room.
Separate rooms, okay. Then she would leave and go towards Jean's room and knock on it.
And the door is ajar, but only about maybe half an inch.
Jean, are you awake? Are you up?
And then you'd hear, yes. And
Can I?
hear the sound of her standing or moving around and opening the door a crack. You can see her there.
I think Korla would kind of tentatively reach out to almost touch you. You are real, then. That was not a dream I had last night.
I certainly do live, yes.
Jean, if what you are saying is true, we are the last. And I do not know if I can trust you like I did, but you were once like sister to me, and I would like to try.
And you can see a little bead of a tear forming in the corners of Jean's eyes as the words that you spoke seem to touch her heart a bit. And then she looks away from you and goes over to the other side of the room, disappearing from the crack in the door, saying nothing. If you were to look further in, you see that she's gathering her things. She already has her armor equipped underneath her long cloak, even though it's probably really, really early in the morning.
You
and you see that the bed is untouched.
You are leaving?
I best not leave my things here, of all places. You know how flimsy the doors are.
Yes, you are right. Are we good?
And she looks to you, and her eyes look into yours. And she gives you a very warm but small smile. Yes. And she nods.
Very well. I will see you downstairs. And so with that, Korla will turn to go down to the common room below.
And the scene shifts. Fel, you wake up. Again, a dreamless night has left you rested, but still a bit tired, a bit exhausted. You do not forget the wounds that you had. You do not seem to have healed from them or to seem to have recovered from them as quickly as maybe you have in the past. But then again, your life in the back home was probably a lot less dangerous. But you see a welcome sight as you see Lancelot laying at the edge of your bed, his fur still matted with blood. And for a second you don't see him breathe. But then he looks up at you. And if he could, you could almost see smiling as he kind of thumps his tail against the floor.
And Fel would, just seeing this and remembering all the times that she spent in her father's kennels back at the Daggerford house among the dogs, which she was always more comfortable with than people, more often than not, would just sort of surge out of the bed, kind of down onto the ground where Lancelot is, and just sort of wrap her arms around him, kind of, trying to get some of the mats out of his fur, just little nitpicky things. And she would just kind of take a moment to kind of look at him and just kind of run her fingers through the fur on top of his head, kind of that soft dog fur that they all have on the top of their heads. And then she'll just say very quietly, "I am so sorry. I'm glad you're okay." And she'll kind of press her forehead against his, and then stand up, kind of adjusting her doublet and her breeches, which I imagine she probably slept in, gathering up her belongings, and then she'll actually head out to whatever room is Eli's, and just kind of very quietly knock on the door to see if he's awake.
Door's open. Come on in.
Hey, and she'll kind of push the door open and then close it behind her once Lancelot is in. How are you feeling?
Well, I ain't gonna lie. I felt better.
I know what you mean. And she pauses for a moment, looking kind of at her boots and then up at you, Eli, and she says, What are we going to do?
Well, near as I can tell, the way things are going, it's kind of like if you fall into a fast-moving river. You can fight against the current and try to make your way to the banks, wear yourself out, risk getting battered against the rocks, or you can just settle back into it, let the river take you where it's going to, and wait for it to empty out into a pond or a lake or something. Look, I don't know. Be honest with you, I'm just making this up to.
I kind of got that impression. It kind of meandered a little bit towards the end there.
Well,
like a river.
Look, Phil, I'm about as lost as you are. This is new territory.
I don't know if I believe that. You seem to be handling yourself pretty well, better than I am, better than Carla is. Well, I don't know who her friend is, but
the difference is I make it my business to hunt and kill monsters, and there seems to be no shortage of them around this place right now.
Apparently.
And it helps that, well, this seemed to have worked. And this whole time I've been kind of, you would see that the weapon I had out earlier is in pieces as I've kind of pulled it apart, and I'm cleaning it and cleaning the residue out of the barrels. And there's these brass and lead things next to them, a little bit of maybe a leather pouch with some powder. Until I fired this in that house, I honestly wasn't sure it was going to work.
Well, it did.
Well, I've been tinkering around with this for quite a while, and I'm glad to see that it did work. And, well, gives me a little more confidence in what we're facing. But I'm going to stand by my analogy of the river. As weak and meandering as it was, there's not much we can do but sort of lean back right now and see where the current takes us, get our bearings, and figure out what's going on. But I think the most important thing is we need to stick together.
And Fel would kind of go over to where you're, cleaning the pieces of righteous indignation, and she would kind of like kneel down beside it and just say, I mean, you're right. I suppose it's just, and she'll glance towards the door leading out of the room. The things that people have said, well, that Elizabeth Durst said about Korla and this woman, it's just, are you sure we can? Are you sure we can trust them?
Right now, as it stands, I'm not 100% sure I trust even that dog.
Fel will look at Lancelot. Really? Come on. He's a dog.
Look, you and I are the only two that stepped in originally into this situation.
Right.
Everybody else has shown up since we've been here. Now, I'm inclined to give people the benefit of the doubt. And as has thus been demonstrated, Korla, she seems to be all right. But I'm going to reserve between you and I a certain amount of distrust between anybody that we encounter while we're here until they prove themselves otherwise. But I mean, I don't completely distrust any of them. And I suppose you're all right. And I'd kind of reach out and with a big dwarven hand give Lancelot a scritch behind the ear. But I think, like I said, we need to stick together, watch each other's back, and we'll give these people the benefit of the doubt for now. And in the meantime, as far as what that Durst woman said, in my book, she classifies as a monster, and monsters are not to be trusted.
Right. No, you're right. And she'll smile a little and just kind of pick up one of the pieces, like just a small piece of righteous indignation, kind of look at it, and then look to you and just say, when we were sitting at my aunt's table eating that awful fucking tomato soup, I thought it was interesting because Oscar was so big, and I'd heard some stories about the Everchild and about Gleowin, not very many, not enough to recognize them on sight. But and then she puts the piece down in front of you. You were the one that was the most interesting to me, I think, because you were the one that seemed the most sane, I suppose. And I guess what I'm trying to say is I may not understand what's going on here. I may not understand these abilities I have. But I have your back, and I just wanted to let you know that.
Well, I appreciate that, and what I'm going to assume was a compliment.
It absolutely was. Sanity is very attractive in a person.
And as I said, I got your back too. As far as Everchild and Gleowin, I'm beginning to think that their nature was a bit too ephemeral, too spiritual for this realm. Mm-hmm. You and I seem to be perhaps a bit more grounded in, I hesitate to say reality.
I mean,
particularly given this place, but
yeah.
But it's not to say that there weren't good qualities about them.
Absolutely not.
But that could be why they've struggled to maintain in this realm, wherever this may be. But that's beside the point. I think, like I said, we'll get ourselves together. We'll get some food. We'll see where Korla's up to, and kind of figure out what's going on in this place. I don't know about you, but I'm kind of hungry.
I could definitely eat. Nothing like getting mauled to death by wolves to work up an appetite, apparently. All right, well, you don't, I guess, stay up here too long with that, and she'll nod towards the disassembled weapon, and I'll see you downstairs.
I think as you're saying that, you would just see as I just sort of grab the pieces and just, and within like maybe 20 seconds, it's all put back together.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll slip it back into its compartment on my rucksack that's actually a wooden chest. And I'll head down there with you.
All right, come on, Lancelot. And then she'll leave.
So as you guys all move down into the main eating area, you see that it is surprisingly empty. Save for one elderly woman. She sits behind the counter, and she smiles up at all of you as you guys come down, and my dears, welcome, good morning. Can I interest you in some pies? We have some fresh meat pies this morning.
Did somebody say pie?
Why, yes, I did. You look like a strong young lad. Here, take two. They're my special recipe.
How big are these pies?
They're like one of those little kind of like single serving kind of meat pies.
Hot Pockets.
Yeah.
Sorry, that's
It's a hot
popped
pocket.
in my head. All right, I didn't want it to look too crazy if I was going to take two pies.
No. They're hearty and yeah, they're for one person.
I'll kind of hold one up and just. I mean, is it hot?
Yeah, it's quite warm and it smells amazing.
These smell delicious. How much are the pies?
Well, dearie, they're about 1 copper each.
I glance over at Fel, hoping that she remembers that I mentioned the night before that I was completely out of funds.
And she'll give you this sideways look and then look at this old woman. It seems awfully cheap for a meat pie. What kind of meat is it?
Oh, well, a bit of this, a bit of that, a bit of deer, though that is very difficult to find. Mostly it's wolf meat. That is what we have come across lately. But it's full of sweet potatoes, corn, carrots, a little bit of wine in there, and some of my special seasoning.
I think you would immediately hear of Eli's stomach audibly rumbling.
Sure, I'll pay for his meat pies, and she'll give 2 copper to this. Is this lady like creepy looking, or does she look normal? Like, what is her appearance?
No, she looks like not creepy at all. But actually, anyone who wants to can roll an insight check.
I will absolutely roll an insight check. Let's see, insight.
Has Jean seen this lady here before? In this spot? In this kind of scenario?
No, No, you normally see her peddling her pies to others down the street, usually. But she was very good friends with Auric.
Okay.
So this doesn't seem to be too out of the ordinary.
I rolled a 5 on insight, so I'm digging in.
16.
This is really good.
So Fel, Korla, and Jean, you see that her smile is there, but there's something that she isn't telling. You know that she's keeping something, but you can't decipher whether it's good or bad, or whether it's just, the secret ingredient to her recipe, something. But you know she's hiding something. So, where are all of you headed? Oh, you all look so strong and healthy. Too bad you weren't sticking around. I know a lot of young Barovians who would love a good spouse like all of you.
I'm sorry, what? A good spouse? Is that what you just said?
Did you
Spouses.
say spouse?
Right, no, we know what spouses are. It's just a very odd thing to start a conversation with. Here, have some pies. By the way, do you want to get married?
Oh, I'm sorry, dearies. We don't usually get a lot of visitors in here. Please excuse if my manners are a bit rusty. You just all look so wonderfully healthy.
Random
that-
question. Oh, go ahead. No,
I
go
was
ahead.
gonna say, at that, Korla looks down at all the scrapes and wounds and scabs she's got on, and she's like, raises her eyebrow, looks to Felitha. Healthy.
And another fantastic thing about these pies, part of my secret ingredient, it's actually from my mother. She taught me these pies will make you have the most wonderful dreams.
Wonderful dreams?
Oh, yes, dearie. In a world filled with just such nasty things, isn't it nice to have a night full of pleasant dreams?
I suppose. Are these some sort of magical or ensorcelled pies? She'll kind of look over at Eli, her eyes widening just a little bit.
Oh, perhaps maybe just a pinch of magic, but I am nothing of a sorcerer like my mother was, so I must admit that is all I really know how to do.
I think you'd see me just as she starts talking about dreams and a little bit of magic, that I've already finished the first pie and I'm tucking into that second pie, and I just start chewing a little bit slower.
You have tasted the pie, and it is amazing. It tastes absolutely delicious. Do any of you buy a pie?
Oh yeah, Korla is hungry, so she would have bought a pie at this point, yeah, and be eating it.
And the
John
same
does
to you,
not.
it is probably the most delicious pie you've ever had.
Oh yes.
Sorry, Jean?
Does not eat pie.
Fel?
Fel will actually pull out a copper piece and kind of go over to this woman. You said she's behind the counter. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. So she'll lay the copper piece down and kind of lean against the counter and kind of reach down with her left hand, laying it against this rune-carved bone. She is going to use, almost instinctively, just wanting to figure out what exactly is going on. It's almost this curiosity that causes this to happen. She's going to use Subtle Spell to cast Friends on, I guess it would be this woman. I haven't really used friends before, which is kind of a weird thing. No, it's on myself. So basically, as she's kind of touching this rune carved bone hanging from her belt, she feels this surge of warmth kind of creep up her arm. There's a little bit of like a blackness that passes over her eyes for a moment, and then she leans forward, kind of pushing the coin towards this woman, and says, "So, what sort of magic exactly is it that goes into these pies? I'm just curious, want to make sure that I know what I'm buying, before I actually spend the coin." And she kind of leaves her hand on that coin. I guess she'll try and persuade this woman to tell her a little more about this magic.
Yeah, sure. And you have advantage.
Hooray! I needed it. Well, that's not that great. All right, let's see. That is actually, it is pretty good. That is a 19.
To be honest, dear, I'm not sure what you mean, type of magic. There are different types.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I'm not much of a wielder of the arcane myself, but I've done a great amount of reading about it. And, there's, what is it? There's evocation, there's illusions, enchantments, divinations, that sort of thing. Any of that sound familiar?
I'm sorry, dear. I'm not sure. It was, my mother, she taught me all of this before she died, quite tragically. But, I'm not really sure. She didn't quite say.
I'm going to insight check that. But I don't have advantage on that because that's not a charisma-based thing, I don't believe. That's just, that's just a thing. It is a wisdom base. I rolled a 16, rolling pretty good tonight.
Something. So, you know that she is telling you the truth because she regards you as a friend. She really doesn't know all that much, and I would even allow you because you touched her and because you're so in tune with magic, you would see also that she is not a magic wielder, like, very much. You find maybe a hint of magic within her, but nothing to say that she's trying to hide some sort of powers or anything. It seems as though she is kind of oblivious, I suppose, to the type of magic that it is.
And with a 16, can I tell if she's being serious about the mother situation, or is she lying?
She is serious. She is she seems to be telling the truth about her mother's death.
Okay. Yeah, so Fel would kind of pause for a moment, trying to almost puzzle out in her mind exactly how she just did what she just did. But for now, she'll just leave the copper piece on the counter, pick up the pie, and just kind of pocket it in this little backpack that she has. Thank you. Appreciate that.
The only magic I can sense is just deliciousness.
Right. Just deliciousness.
Also,
I am agreeing with you. These are the best pies I have tasted.
just a quick thing. Can everyone just turn off their cameras? Sorry to interrupt. We'll just quickly fix this, and then we can get back into it.
All right.
Yeah, except for Connor. So then Leo. Oh, no worries. Jason. Jake. Then Karen.
Megan always screws up our overlay on my
I-
games, so don't worry
I do.
about it.
I do. So
Be more worried about these pies, Leo, these evil pies.
so we're actually going to
They're
switch.
not evil.
So we're actually going to switch scenes for a second. Anatoli, you went to
Yeah.
sleep at your own place.
Got it.
And now it is morning, and you are awake. I assume you get up early. What are you doing right now?
I got up early. I take a look at everything around me. Trying to find out. I study the area, trying to find out how much color has left from what I'm used to. It's a ritual I do every morning because I am expecting to eventually go to the next step on what Dolur means to me. And I sigh, realizing that it hasn't changed. Um, I stand up, I tidy around, and then I go outside and usually either cut some wood or go find out if anybody needs help in the town. But this morning I'm more interested in the newcomers. Um, so I grab my axe that I use for both cutting and for killing wolves, I guess, and I'm gonna head to the blood on the vine, if it's still that, and go check on these newcomers and see how they're doing. I just want to see how they see things. Has any of them disappeared or what's up?
All right, sounds good. So you're gonna head over there, and in the meantime, this woman has left. She's picked up her pies and her little cart that she seemed to have parked. If you ever need me again, I'll be around with my little cart selling more pies. Toodaloo.
Toodaloo. And Fel will wait till she's out of the building and then look at Eli and Korla and just say, so I'm still getting used to this whole magic thing, but in most of the texts that I've read about the arcane, ingesting it is usually not a good thing unless you know exactly what it is you're ingesting. I don't know. Is there anyone else around apart from us, or is it pretty much deserted at this point?
No, it's pretty much deserted. Yep.
Okay. I don't know if that woman didn't seem to mean us any ill, but just something to keep in mind. I hope that you have pleasant dreams, but if not, just, for future reference, I hope neither of you, and she kind of looks between you, Korla, and you, Eli, I hope neither of you, I don't know, turns into a frog or whatever. I'm not entirely sure how this works.
Well, the arcane arts aren't exactly my specialty, but I'll say this: they smelled and they tasted magical, and if all I get from it is pleasant dreams, then I'm okay with it.
Hopefully that's all you'll get.
But you have a little more experience with the mystical arts, so
I mean, not really. I mean, until the murder house or whatever, I couldn't do any of the things that I can do now. So I don't have much more experience than you. I've read a lot, not much else to do in a place like Daggerford.
I guess we'll just keep an eye on us for what, magical side effects?
Basically.
I think by this time, Anatoli, you would have arrived at the blood on the vine.
Do I see the woman outside?
I would think yes. You would see her leaving with her cart.
Have I seen her before?
Yes. Roll me a D100, please.
Those. All right. I got a 48.
You have just seen her sell pies. That's it. She seems to go from house to house, door to door. She probably even has knocked on your door, and it is up to you whether you bought any of her pies. And if you have, they're delicious. And they do, in fact, make you have wonderful dreams.
Okay, yeah, I'm gonna kind of nod at her. Do I know her name?
You do. Everyone calls her Granny, but you know that her real name is Morgantha.
Renee, you got some of those there for me?
Yes, of course, dearie. I couldn't forget about you.
Right. I go over there and I will go ahead and pay 4 copper. Do I have money? I do have money. Yeah, I'll pay 4 copper to her. You know what? I'm gonna give her a whole silver instead and grab 5 pies.
Thank you, dearie. Thank you.
I kind of like stumble with them as I walk. No problems, Granny. I have some friends in there that perhaps might want some.
Well, now I'm fresh out. Now I need to go back and bake some more.
That's
she
right. I'll
Smiles
see you
and
soon, Granny.
ta-ta.
Ta ta. And I walk inside, kind of kick the door, and stumble in. Do I see them?
Yeah, they're sitting right at the table. You see already uh, some empty pie container, little boxes.
Oh, I see you have met Granny then. I'll
She,
have
ma-
some more for you. And I put him down and I grab one and I just eat it on the spot right there.
she makes most wonderful pies.
Oh, they're
It's
delicious.
delicious.
If you're offering, and I will grab another pie.
One for each and all that.
Thanks. I think I'll stick with my rations, and Fel will open up her little bag. Did we lose our rations in the death house, Megan?
No, I don't believe you did.
Okay, I didn't think so. I just wanted to double check. But yeah, so she'll pull out this like comparatively awful looking little oilcloth wrapped bundle of just like dried like meat and fruit and nuts, and she'll just kind of start pecking at it, eating at it.
Sorry, I called you orc face the other day.
Wait, you called me orc face the other day?
Yeah, I think I might have called you a man too. But
Oh.
you don't want that pie? Does your dog want it?
No, I think he'll be fine with.
Are you sure?
I'm sure, and she'll kind of hold out a little piece of dried meat for Lancelot. You're Anatoli, right?
That is right. Finn.
Fel is fine.
Fel.
Don't strain yourself. Thank you again
Right.
for your help the other night.
Anytime. So, what are your plans then? Since you're here.
That's a good question. And she'll kind of look at the other three.
Well, my plan right now is if you are not eating yours, I'm going to take it. And she'll take another pie.
Nice.
Well, since we're all getting cozy over pie here, as Phil said, Anatoly, it was wonderful having your assistance last night. And
Right.
good to see you again today.
Yeah, I figured you'd be here. Not anything much to do.
I'm just wondering, who are you?
I'm Anatoli.
No, not you.
What do you mean?
Are you there at the table, Jean?
Jean is there, but she's
Jean?
again very quiet. Yes.
I'm talking to her.
Oh.
We've not been properly introduced. My name is Eli Lancaster.
Jean. My name is Jean.
And how do you know? It's like for a moment, Fel's about to say our friend Korla, but just ends up saying, "How do you know Korla?"
We were enlisted together as mercenaries, as stealth swords, as adventurers, vagabonds, ne'er-do-wells, wanderers.
By who?
Whoever would give us the coin.
And Fel will look over to you, Korla. Was she part of your band of friends that went into that house?
And Korla takes a big bite of pie.
I will take that as a yes. Fel's going to look back at Jean's kind of breastplate with, I think it had like the two griffins on it. Could she make some kind of check to see if she knows what that heraldry means, potentially?
Sure. Yeah, I would say you could make a history check.
I'm pretty good at those. I'm not very good at those. That's an 8.
So I will give you, Connor, I will give you a license to say what she knows, if anything.
You know that the heraldry is something distant from Daggerford, but one that appears often, even in stories like centuries older than the present. like in history or even in fairy tales or stories or poems, Edda's songs. But other than that, you've recognized it, and you've seen it, but is it from a storybook that you've seen before, or is it from an actual like conference or diplomatic thing that happened with your parentage? You don't really know, but seeing it in the flesh will kind of confirm to you that I guess the twin griffins are real.
Well, I'm Fel, Fel of the Daggerford. It's nice to meet you, Jean.
Sean,
Yes.
So, unless I'm mistaken, Sean, Korla, myself, Fel here, and quite possibly this dog are not from here. But I get the impression you are from here, Anatoli. Is that correct?
Anatoli was down playing with the dog for a second. He says, I'm from here, but we're all from here now. This is Dolor, realm of the dead. I'm sorry that you've reached here like this, but we're just here waiting to turn into the next step.
Dolor, the realm of the dead.
Aye,
You seem absolutely certain about that.
I am. Look around. What else could it be?
I'm going to ask you this again. Are you from here originally? Or, like us, did you find yourself here and now you've just sort of accepted that this is where you are?
Who's around us besides us, Megan? Is anybody else besides Eric in here?
Yes, you, without you really hearing anything, you see that Arik has slipped in behind the counter, but he seems very preoccupied cleaning a glass.
I kind of lean in and say, well, yeah, I found myself here, probably when I died at some point. Everybody comes here when they die. I don't remember how I died, but that's why I'm here, to see if any of you remember, because Eli, right? Lancaster, you said last night?
Yeah, Eli Lancaster.
I see you. I've seen you a few times in some dreams. So you must be part of my path. And I'll turn into a shade eventually.
While Anatoli's talking, I'm watching Fel to gauge her reaction.
And her face is just, it's pale, confused. And then by the time Anatoli finishes talking, she just quietly says, "What the fuck are you talking about? We're not dead."
What else do you think this is then? You think you just got here?
It could be anything. I mean, sure. And she kind of thinks back to a conversation actually that Gleowin had with the group, where she specifically mentioned, this kingdom was supposedly so close to Daggerford, but Fel had never heard of it. She maybe read about it once or twice, but she's never actually been there. And she kind of stops, but then she shakes her head and says, no, we're not dead. This is not the realm of the dead. This is just some place, some isolated little kingdom ruled by, and she'll lean in, by a fucker who doesn't understand how to treat a member of the aristocracy. So I just, enough with the dead talk. All right?
Fel,
yes. Yes.
You feel a hand on your shoulder.
Yes.
There's no sun here. There's
you're
no
swimming
color.
you're swimming against the current, Fel.
Well, maybe we should swim against the current. Maybe not like we did before. And she'll look at you, Eli, and for a moment there's sort of this expression of like just intense sorrow and guilt that kind of flashes over her face, and she says, "I'm sorry about what happened the other night. We should not have tried to, I guess, go back to the gates in the mist." And then she'll look back to Anatoli. "But this can't be right. We're not dead. We're not shades. We're not
What do
spirits.
you think we are now then?
We're in some other nation, some other kingdom. That's all this is."
Where are you from? Where in Corvair are you from?
Corvair. I'm from a township called Daggerford. My father is the Duke of Daggerford.
Where's that? Somewhere east? Towards the Talenta
Near- it's
Plains,
near-
or
No, it's further, and she kind of stops. It's further north, I think. I'm not familiar with the Talenta Plains. I don't
Huh.
think.
Is Corvair something I would have heard of? Or is this a completely foreign?
Are you? Do you travel a lot?
I've spent the last couple of years traveling north from Greenest.
I don't know that you would have. I don't think so. You guys are testing my the names of places. I don't.
Well, I mean,
it's another world, yeah.
Yeah.
I was just say, if it's not in the southern Sword Coast, Forgotten Realms region, then Eli probably hasn't heard
No.
much about it.
Then no.
So, Phil, I think that this is a situation where none of us really knows 100% for sure where we are.
Right, but I think we can safely assume, and she'll shoot this kind of cold glance over at you, Anatoli, before looking back to Eli. We can assume that we aren't dead.
Can we, though?
I mean, don't you think you would have at least a general idea of how you died? I mean, we met at my aunt's home. I'm pretty sure we were all still alive then. Well, not my aunt's home, our home, whatever. We had dinner. We talked to Stanimir and his friends. They led us to this nightmare. We went through a house. Nobody died. And she kind of pauses for a moment. Maybe the wolves killed us, but we're still here. And she kind of holds up her right forearm, which has like some bandages on it, just like strips of cloth from the wolf bites. But we were wounded. Why would we still have our wounds if we were dead? I mean, it doesn't make sense. I think we're jumping to conclusions is all I'm saying.
I might be dead.
Well, you're also apparently marked by this asshole, so all bets are off as far as that goes.
Who's marked?
Never mind. It doesn't mean anything, I'm sure.
Who's the asshole?
Strahd.
Ah, the demon.
The demon?
That's what Ismark calls him. I think somebody calls him demon.
Is he actually a demon?
There's demons in Dolor. Sure.
Dolor. She just shakes her head and goes
I'm
back
sorry
to eating
you
her
can't
rations.
accept this, but you'll never become a shade if you don't accept this. This is part of the pact.
Uh-huh. She just keeps eating her ration.
Well, let's just for the time being accept that we are not certain whether or not this is some sort of realm of the dead or part of the path to such a place or just some other place. Anatoli, it seems like you've been here a while. And Sean, I'm not sure how long you've been here, but each of you seems to have a bit more experience in the location where we are now. And I would think it would be in our best interest to defer to your judgment of where we should go and what we should do.
Also, if there are any ways out of here, that would be something to discuss. Anyway, continue.
And fellas, you say that, Jean would actually kind of speak up here. There are no ways out.
That's right.
Definitely not the mists. The mists are walls thicker than stone or concrete. Oh, not concrete. Stone or metal or mountains themselves.
There's someone who might know a way out, maybe? If one were to exist, potentially?
I know of a town and distant travel from here. I dared not dare it by myself, knowing what lurks in the night.
What is this place?
It starts with a V. I cannot remember the name.
And what is in this V-named town?
People who are not the ones who live here who know nothing. I've asked everyone here how to get out. How to walk
Some of
through the
them-
mists. How to walk along the path, and none know.
Some of them are already closer to their shade, which is why they seem like shadows of themselves. They have no life. You can tell. You see them. They walk around like the dead.
And kind of like completely ignoring what Anatoli says. And that is why I've been here, at this inn, Blood of the Vine, for the last 2 years.
Are there any government officials, clergy, law enforcement, anybody in any sort of position of authority that would be worthwhile to talk to?
There's the burgomaster and there's a temple. But otherwise, Anatoli has a point here of everyone acting like shadows of themselves, though perhaps that is just the realization of the place they found themselves in, clutching at their hearts and their wills.
Well, it seems to me I'm kind of going to take a couple steps back from what I said a few minutes ago about deferring to the two of you's judgment about what course of action is best to take. It seems that being here as long as you have been has led you into a sort of complacency. You've sort of accepted your fate, that there's no way out, that you're in the land of the dead, and, well, while I'm not entirely marking that possibility off, I'm not quite willing to accept that as the final answer.
Thank you.
Suddenly,
so-
River fell.
I've seen you in a dream, so I'm gonna go ahead and follow you, since you seem to be my path to the way out, to become a
Wow.
shade and finish my path.
suddenly the door flies open. And you see Jean and Anatoli, who you recognize as Ismark. Good morning, everyone. I assume you've had a good a good time resting.
Well, we rested. We've eaten. If that's what you mean.
And you see he immediately looks to the empty small wooden little boxes that the pies were in, and his face pales. Right, yes. Did you get those from Granny?
Yes.
No,
They were
Yeah.
delicious.
they're actually pretty tasty. I had 3 of them myself.
And he almost chokes out the word 3.
What's the concern is, Mark?
Nothing. It's nothing. Sure, just rumor is all.
I mean, normally rumors don't make people go pale as a sheet unless they're really bad rumors. Do you mind sharing with us?
Well. Now listen, Mad Mary, and as soon as he says that, both you, Jean, and Anatoli recognize that name. If not ever seen her, you have heard her wails and screams coming from an empty house. And he continues, well, as the name suggests, she's not the most credible. But she said that Granny made... And then he looks around and he lowers his voice. The meat in the pies is not animal.
She said there was venison and wolf.
Tastes like wolf to me.
Well, yes, I'm like I said, I'm sure they're all just rumors. And he looks down, trying to avoid all your eye contact with you, and he sees Lancelot. And a smile comes across his face. Oh, you found Lancelot. And he goes and he bends and he begins to pet the dog. Seems to greet him.
We did. Do you know who his owner is? Where his owner is?
What? Yes. Gertruda. Mad Mary's daughter. It was her dog.
And she just let him wander off into this, well, we found him somewhere rather dangerous. She just let him wander off?
And he looks around. You're with Anatoli and John, so I trust you. She ran away.
Mad Mary's daughter Gertruda ran away?
Yes. Mad Mary was so afraid that she would get kidnapped by the devil Strahd. She kept her hidden in the room. But
why did she think that Strahd would kidnap her? Is that a thing he does?
Not usually.
How old is this Gertruda?
About her age, and he nods to Fel.
How old is Fel?
25.
Well, shit, we must find her then. Anatoli stands up, grabs the axe, and looks at all of you.
Wait. So do we even know where she ran off to? Like a general direction? Ismark, right? Do you know a general direction where she ran off?
I don't. I'm sorry. She ran away in the night, and no one goes out at night.
Where can we find this Mary?
She's in her house, and he kind of points a few blocks that way, and you take a left. I think Anatoli and Jean should be able, but I came here for a reason. I need your help. It's Irina, my sister.
She's not missing too, is she?
No.
Oh.
No.
Spit it out, man. What is it that you are wanting? What about Irina?
It's Strahd. He came last night. And
Ismark, just fucking say it.
please, just please come with me. And there's too many eyes.
Fel will look around and look at Auric and then look back to him. It's just us, unless there's some sort of magical concern that you have. You see Ismark kind of glance up for an instant. You aren't even sure that you saw his eyes go up, but you kind of guess that he's kind of looking at something quickly. Please. And if anyone looks up, you would see a bat hanging upside down from the rafter.
All right.
Well, Why don't you take us where you need to take us? Show us what you got to show us.
Yes. I will explain on the way. Just stay close.
Right.
And Ismark rushes out. As you are walking down the street, following Ismark, you see that it is oddly silent. There's usually, in a normal village, you would see merchants everywhere. You would see children running and playing. You do see a child. She is devoid of all color, it seems. And she bends down towards the ground, picks up a stone, stands, and drops it. Bends down, picks up a stone, stands, and drops it. And she continues to do this rhythmically over and over again. You see a woman pass by you, who is also devoid of all color. And she looks to you, Fel. Good morning. Beautiful sunny day, isn't it?
Sure. Fel's just kind of like looking at the total lack of color on this woman, her eyes widening as she thinks back to what Anatoli just said, feeling this shiver of fear rattle down her spine.
She turns to Korla, who's a few steps behind. Good morning. It's a beautiful sunny morning, isn't it?
Korla, that would look around, and it's not sunny at all, is it?
No, it isn't.
And she would look at Fel and Eli and then Anatoli and remembering what he just said. And then she would look back at the woman. Is beautiful sunny day, yes.
It's a beautiful sunny day, isn't it?
Yes, is beautiful sunny day.
She just keeps walking.
That is very strange. These people are... Maybe Anatoli was right.
They're close.
As I had said, very little help in finding a way out of here.
This place is a fucking nightmare, and Fel just kind of picks up the pace to catch up to Ismark.
Eventually, you get to the door of the Burgomaster. This house is a bit larger and a bit nicer than some of the other houses. This looks as though it has had some upkeep to it. And he knocks on the door. And he says, Irina, it's me, Ismark. And you see the door slowly open. And there stands a woman, absolutely stunningly beautiful, long flowing hair. She smiles at Ismark until she sees the rest of you. And she quickly pulls her hair to her neck to cover, but you guys see it. Large black veins come out of her neck, spidering down her neck, onto her shoulder, and further behind her dress. And that's where we're going to take a break. Just a quick little 10-minute break, and then we'll see what happens. So, thanks everyone for tuning in. Apologies for some of the technical stuff, the stream, but you guys have pulled through it, and thank you to my players. You guys are awesome. That was some amazing role-playing at the beginning, and that was super cool. And we'll see you guys in a bit. All right. And so we're back. So you see a woman standing on the other side. And she looks at all of you a bit suspiciously. Ismark? Who are these? What? Well, you know Anatoli and John, and these are their friends. I thought that they could help us.
Flame, forgive me. What is that thing on your neck, Arena?
It's nothing.
Right.
It's nothing. Ismark's right.
Right.
You would all want to come inside. She opens the door a little bit, inviting you all inside. Do you go in?
Fel will kind of lean over to Eli and kind of like quietly say to him, "So is this going with the current, or are we? I mean,
This is the river.
right? I figured you were gonna say something like that." And then she'll straighten up and follow lead, or not lead, but go in with Lancelot behind her.
Yeah, I go in as well, and kind of keep looking at her neck.
She closes the door, and you can see that her and Ismark are quietly arguing to each other while you walk in. You can hear bits and pieces of their mutterings. Strangers, you can't bring in strangers to our house, Ismark. But I didn't know where else to go. Okay, but you didn't have to bring all of these people here now, especially after what happened last night. How do you know they're not? And yeah, Fel, do you want to say something?
Yeah, she just says, "So we're strangers, but that doesn't mean we're deaf. Maybe you should just come out and tell us what's going on."
Right. Look, if they tell you their names, they're not strangers anymore. So go ahead.
Eli Lancaster.
Felith Daggerford.
Korla Spenvich.
There you
John
go.
Valet.
There you go, Arena. You feel better? What's wrong with your fucking neck?
The servant said I was visited by that devil Strahd last night.
Devil, that's what he said, not demon. Right.
Though I don't really remember what happened. I just woke up and I had this on my neck. And she kind of moves her hair, kind of realizing that her feeble attempt at hiding it did not work.
Is it just black veins, or does it look like anything else? Like puncture wounds, perhaps?
If you look closely now, you can see that there are 2 puncture wounds on her neck.
What did he actually do then?
It looks like something bit you. And she'll kind of point out to the rest of the group with one kind of pale finger. There's 2 little holes there in her neck. Some sort of insect, maybe?
Jean has
Like,
seen
what?
some weird injuries in her time, and she, especially things that look, like strange rot or like this. Perhaps could Jean make a medicine check?
Yes.
As she examines it, oh, that's going to be a 24 total.
You have heard the name uttered. The creature that leaves these marks. Vampire. It is on all the Barovians' lips, though they never speak it outright when referring to Strahd.
I have seen a wound like this during the Battle of the Red Mountain. From the fangs of beings called vampires. And Jean says this in a low voice, probably only quiet enough, or loud enough even for Korla to hear. Maybe the keen-eared half-elf could probably hear this too.
But that is just myth, what you are saying.
I was at Red Mountain. And Fel, that probably would trigger another, nerd point for you.
Absolutely. Megan, what do I need to roll for my nerdiness to figure out if I know what the Battle of Red Mountain is?
Well, as you all know, the common nerd check is a history check.
Of course. I have like a +2 to those. But I rolled really poorly on my last one. Maybe I can redeem myself, get my nerd cred back. I definitely get my nerd cred back with a 17.
You know that the Battle of Red Mountain was a cataclysmic war that probably even affected your holdings in Daggerford, even though it happened in a region distant, where necromancers rose up and were trying to basically conquer a good portion of a distant valley kingdom. And then it all clicked with Jean du Valet and then the Twin Griffins.
So would I know like what the kingdom was called or is called?
In your tongue, it's translated to as the Valley Kingdoms.
Valley Kingdoms. Interesting.
And you know that one of the heraldry of the many different houses there are the Twin Griffins. And you know that battle ended in victory for the Valley Kingdoms through the hands of Griffin riders.
Do the Valley Kingdoms still exist in modern Faerun?
They certainly do.
Okay. Yeah, so Fel will kind of take this in for a moment and then just kind of slowly look over her shoulder at Jean and then shake her head and look back to Arena's neck. But she's not really seeing it. She's just thinking about this information about the Battle of the Red Mountain and the Valley Kingdoms and all this information. She's trying to wrap her head around all of this.
I do not want to believe that the rumors are true. So I don't want to hear anything. Not about it. Do I make myself clear?
What rumors do you speak of?
Anatoli, don't play dumb. You probably heard of them. How I'm
What,
some
Strahd?
sort of witch. How Strahd is trying to make me into one of his things.
One of his things?
You say trying. How many times has he done this to you?
This would be his second visit.
I look at John because you seem to know a little bit about this. What does that mean? I look at you and shrug.
And Jean pauses, and it almost pains her to think back on the memories that she has of just brutal warfare that happened, where she was in battle against these nightmarish enemies and vampires. They come. They find those who are weak, near death, drain the blood from their bodies and make them walk as their puppets, though that is the context in which I know them of. Perhaps Strahd is a different ilk of vampire, but perhaps it is of the same cloth here.
Let him take us.
Ismark, will you tell them why they're here now, please? I want you to take Irina to safety. I'll pay.
Safety where exactly?
There's a town about 3 days journey from here. It's called Velaki.
Lucky, that's the name.
The one with the parties or something like that.
Yes, but it's away. It's away from the castle. That's all that matters. It's away from Strahd. He can't get to them there.
Why do you say that?
Well, I've heard they've discovered a way to keep Strahd out.
Huh. Yeah, I'll do whatever you need me to, Ismark. Of course. But I'm going to be following this man here. This is Eli. So are you going? And I look at you, Eli.
I've been very quietly listening to everything here. Listening to Jean, listening to Irina and Ismark, Fel, noting Korla's silence. And then I meet Fel's gaze. And you might see a trace of something that, given our current predicament, or what we've been in since we came into this place, you might not have noticed it before, but there is in my eyes a sadness and a look of somebody who has seen their share of horrors. And there's almost this conflict as I'm looking at these strangers who are asking for our help. And this Anatoli, who's so willing to follow me blindly. And then I close my eyes, and when I open them up again, they seem to have maybe just a little bit more of the brightness. Well, and I say this to you, Fel. Well, when the river changes direction, we're going to have to roll with it. All right. It seems that I'm willing to take Irina here to Vallaki. We'll make this journey. Anatoli says he's in. I'm assuming Fel and the others are with.
You mentioned something about pay, Ismark. Maybe don't. And she looks to you, Eli. Maybe don't worry about that. Maybe you're the leader of this town, this village, right?
You see that Ismark slowly begins to nod his head, and Irina, she quickly kind of steps in between the both of you. That is something that my dear brother has forgot to mention. I will go with you to Vallaki, but there is a matter of the burgomaster.
The
Our
burgomaster
father.
of here?
Yes,
Oh, okay.
he has died.
Oh.
What?
Heart attack. And no one in this God's forsaken town will take him to be buried.
7 hells, you're saying he died?
Yes, he died.
When?
A few nights ago.
Anatoli looks at Arena and then looks at Ismark, trying to figure out in his head, this math, how long ago the wound was, but just doesn't seem to grasp what's going on. Because at some point, I'm assuming that he was maybe not close, but he spoke to the burgomaster often.
I would think so.
Okay.
Absolutely.
And I just look a little confused and sad, and then I look at Eli for guidance, but then go back and grasp my axe and just kind of wait it out, see what people say.
I don't know any of you, and we are putting a lot of trust in each other here. I am trusting you.
Are you asking us to bury this burgomaster?
If you agree to take me to Vallaki, I will not leave unless the burgomaster is buried properly.
If you're... Oh, go ahead, Eli.
I wish I could say this was the first funeral I was participating in since arriving here, but that's clearly not the case, and it seems to be that I can't distance myself from those duties. If this is your condition, then we'll assist you with this task.
I'd like to add one more condition. We'll do this. We won't take your money, especially if you've lost someone, if you lost your father. But we need help. And she looks at Ismark. We need information. We need someone that knows this place maybe better than, and she'll nod to Jean and Anatoli, than these two. Will you help us? Will you help us figure out what it is we need to know to... And then she kind of glances at Eli. Survive the river?
I don't believe there are any rivers near here.
It's an analogy. It's a really terrible analogy. But will you help us will you help us survive, I suppose? That's what I'm asking. Share information with us. Share what you know with us so that we can make sure that Irina gets to Vallaki safely.
If you can help us with this, you are greater than any other person in here. And I would vow my life to all of you. Anything you need.
Well, that's good enough for me.
He's fucking dead. That's insane. Are you taking his place then, Ismark?
Yes, I am. And that is why I can't come with you to Vallaki. I have to stay to take care of the villagers, especially after.
Just leave, Ismark. Nobody would think less of you.
No, I have to stay. I have to protect them. You saw those shadows that came.
I've seen the shadows. Then leave.
A large place is with his people, Anatoli. If Ismark is going to lead, then he needs to stay.
Lead? Ismark, you're a puppet of this thing, of the devil demon thing. You know that. I don't think your path is here. Do you think that? Is your path not with your sister?
He puts a hand on your shoulder, Anatoli.
Kyber's great flaming fucking ass.
I trust you. I need to stay here. It is what my father would have demanded. I stay and I help my people. Keep them safe.
Right, fine. It's your path. Whatever gets you there.
Thank you.
I believe that's the right decision there, Ismark. These people may be wandering like lost sheep, And it would do no good if you were to leave. And should we need you, we know where to find you.
Right.
About this burgomaster. If the nights are as bad as y'all seem to imply, we should probably get this taken care of as soon as possible.
Yes, you don't want to be out past dark.
Do not. The mists follow you, and the wolves come from everywhere.
In the shadows now.
Well, I'm having a little trouble reconciling that with the fact that you're also asking us to embark on a journey of 3 days, which implies 3 nights as well.
I know. That is why no one else will do it. But I need her to be safe.
All right.
There are Vistani who might make passage for you if you paid them. They usually camp just outside here, just outside the village.
Anatoli visibly kind of shakes in place at the mention of Vistani. He clearly doesn't seem to care much for them, but it also seems very scared of them.
Do not trust most. But there is one woman, Madame Eva. She will help. Do not trust any other Vistani. But usually, if you pay them, they will do good.
Well, I'm gonna have to. Well, Fel, while your intentions are noble, I think we're gonna need to have the means by which to make our way through this land. As much as I don't want to accept money for the purpose of escorting your sister to safety, perhaps payment would be a good thing so that we can deal with needs that may arise as we travel through this land, such as paying Vistani.
Right. And Madame Ava is definitely someone or at least I, need to talk to. I think I might have something that she needs to take a look at. She kind of rattles the pack, and you can kind of hear that heavy book that Maria, the undead servant in the death house, gave to her. I definitely need to talk to her about that book.
Okay. Yes, I will. After the funeral, you may spend the night here, and then I will pay you, and you may go.
All right.
And as you turn, and Irina is already standing by one of the other doors, not the one that you came in. I need everyone to make a perception check, with the exception of Jean and Anatoli. So I guess just Fel, Korla, and Eli.
I am rolling fire tonight. That's a 17.
That's an 18 for me.
Yeah, normally I'm really good at seeing things, but I rolled a nat 1, so that's a total of 7.
So, Fel and Eli, as you turn, as Irina says, the burgomaster is this way. Follow me, please. And as you turn to follow her, you see a very familiar-looking box. Placed in to what looks to be a hearth. There are ashes all around this box, but the box seems to be unmarred. Not even a single scorch mark on the wood. You see the intricate carvings, and you see the name on top of the box, and it says Irina on it. And you see another name. Actually, if anyone approaches it, would either Fel or Eli?
I was going to say, upon noticing this, I would sort of immediately move over to the hearth and would sort of crouch down, looking in at it, taking a closer look.
Same.
Just to verify it is in fact what I think it is.
And you do recognize the script. Unlike anything that you have seen except with these boxes. And on the sides, though at first hard to see and you thought was just a design, you later see that the forms a name on each side. Same name. Tatiana.
Irina,
Yes?
who is Tatiana?
I don't know. That box arrived a few days ago.
Was it delivered through the chimney?
No, it just appeared on our mantle one morning. We've tried burning it, tried using magic to figure out what it is. Nothing has worked.
Did either of you? I'm assuming one of you probably touched it. Did anything happen when you touched it?
No.
Did you open it?
No, of course not. Why would we open such a thing?
Fel will look over at Eli. Why indeed?
Why wouldn't you? The box arrives for you with your name inscribed upon it. What withheld you from opening this box?
Maybe it was the creepy carvings or the evil-looking script on the sides, Eli.
To be completely honest, it was a note attached to the box. And, well, it encouraged us not to open the box.
So the box appeared mysteriously upon your mantle, accompanied by a note that said not to open the box. Now, I turned to Fel. If only we'd gotten such notes.
I know, if only common sense had prevailed when we saw that awful box.
When you live here, when you wake up every morning not knowing what sort of terrors were lurking in the night just beyond the foot of your bed, when you hear the screams of the people who are trapped outside, when you have nightmares so horrifying that when you awake from them, your arms and legs no longer work, your chest is heaving. You learn to be very wary of things like this.
Well, what is your intent with the box then if you've failed to burn it within your hearth?
It has done us no harm yet, and it doesn't seem to want to leave.
Have you tried removing it from the premises?
Yes.
And
In the morning, it is back in the same place on the mantelpiece.
I am going to open my pack and just check and see if those boxes are in there.
They are indeed.
And I'm going to have to check. I'm going to have to find my other sheet because they didn't show up on my D&D Beyond sheet. How many boxes did we end up taking with us?
2. One that said your name and the other one that said Everchild's name.
Okay. That's right. I'll make a note of that. All right. Well, you're probably doing the smart thing then, leaving it there.
All right. Shall we go this way? The day is getting
Yeah.
short.
I'll carry him. I go in and find the burgomaster.
You find the burgomaster lying in a poorly crafted coffin. It is quite obvious that Irina and Ismark made the coffin themselves. He is laid, though, in his finest clothes, and surrounding him is flowers to try and mask the scent of decay. Here he is.
Of the set, who looks like the strongest of the 4 of you?
Honestly, it's probably going to be me.
All right. I want to go to one side and kind of like prepare to lift and look at you, Eli.
This is
Is
not
that
my
bad?
first time doing this. So I will, without being told, I know exactly what to go to.
So you're able to
Lead
lift
the
it.
way. I tell Ismark.
So you're able to lift it, and everything, anyone else who kind of wants to help or follow behind with Irina, and you start the procession towards the church, towards the temple, and you start walking. And if you were to look in some of the windows of the houses that seem to be lived in, either by the fact that you can smell the scent of cooking, or there are candlelights in the windows, you'll see the odd face peering out of the window, to only be closed quickly with curtains. You see scowls. You see mistrust. You see, in some cases, anger. As you continue on down the road. You find yourself in front of the temple. And Ismark goes and knocks on one of the large wooden doors. Donovich? Donovich?
Donovich! I yell out.
The door slowly begins to creak open. And that is where we're going to end our session. So, thank you everyone for spending some time with us this evening to jump back in to the Curse of Strahd. Thank you everyone who was watching and is watching, and thank you to my amazing players. This was a bit of an RP heavy session, but I would not give that up for anything else. That is like my favorite thing ever, when I can just kind of sit back and just casually watch my players and scheme. So thank you again so much, and everyone else, have a good night, and we will be playing again The Curse of Strahd on the 20th of August. So tune in for that. You'll be able to find me this Thursday on Twitch, Mini Terrain Domain, as we get back into the Ghosts of Saltmarsh. And I'm very excited to get into that. It's very, very exciting. And yeah, I'm so excited to get back into playing RPGs. It's been a while since a move and all that. So thanks everyone for having this be kind of my inaugural game, I guess, in my new house. So thanks everyone, and have a good night.